Wow, what a day. Oh, my wife is pregnant, and it is a absolute just craziness, hormones and everything else. And today she went down the shop. She works with me. Everything was normal. A half an hour in, maybe not even that. Had something called Braxton Hicks or something like that, which is basically like false contractions, or I don't even know. But I've talked to like a few buddies, and they said that's like a name everybody seems to know except for me. So anyway, a little bit of side note on what was going on today. If you tried to call, or I was trying to call you back at some point, and I'm referring to a couple of customers I talked to first thing this morning and was supposed to get back to. So anyway, without further ado, I'll get back into what the point of this video is, which is going to be twofold here. One, we're going to show the frame because this one is available, and it is an absolute beauty. And when I say beauty, I'm talking about rust-free, straight. This would be a grade A, and not only rust-free, but all the paint you see on this thing, this is all black paint, right? Looks like it almost been just painted. This is actually not just been painted. This is original factory black paint from, I don't know, back in the 2000s. I don't know the exact year right now. It's in the computer, but nonetheless, doesn't really matter. They're pretty much all the same. And then the second part of this video, and I'll go through this frame. The beginning of this frame is going to be more or less the condition. The end of the video is going to be more or less the title of this video I'm putting up on YouTube, which is people, I constantly am telling people, or they hear me say, no problem, we can get you in an 03 to 06 frame. And really this video will help maybe the guy that's calling about the frame this morning, but also everybody else who I've talked to or is wondering what in fact that means. So essentially, 9706 TJ's came out with two frames. Well, technically they came out with four frames if you consider the four cylinders that had two options with the 2524. This is not a four-cylinder frame; it's a six-cylinder frame, and they only did one technically six-cylinder frame, but they did two variations of it, and those were 1997 to 2002, and then in 03 to 2006. So 2003 2006, and then of course you have the LJ frames, which is the 04 to 06, and those are longer. We're not going to get into those in this video, but nonetheless, so what's the difference? Well, the 9702 frames are the hardest frames to find. And I don't know if it's just there's more of them, or they were made just slightly different metals. They just rust more. Not really sure about that. Can't give you any hard evidence or that, other than these are slightly different gauge. They're a little bit thicker in the later years, the 03 to 06, which is what this one is. So that's really neither here nor there, but it is some kind of food for thought. That's not necessarily a reason I would say necessarily buy an 03 to 06, but it's not a reason not to buy one either. It's, if anything, it would be a good thing in that case. So as far as questions on, I always get there's always this huge level of concern because of all the internet crap out there with forums and everything else. It's kind of hard to decipher from what's real and what's BS. And I'm gonna straighten that up for you for a few things. So we'll start at the back here, but let me go through this frame to show you the condition of it first, because like I said, this is a frame that we do have available. And just in case this one does sell, this will have a SKU on it. Doesn't mean if you go to the site and you can't find the SKU. We've been selling frames and tubs for 18 years now. I'm going on 18 years. So, call. Now, they are getting harder to get. The longer these are out there, they don't make these anymore. There is a company that does make them. You guys have probably heard of them, Throttle Down. And matter of fact, I kind of remember the very first time that they considered making them. They came into our yard in Erie, and a little bit of props there. And I remember telling the guy, I don't think it's possible. I mean, anything's possible, but anyway, nonetheless. So that's the it's not an OEM frame, but it's not a bad frame either. I think they build very quality stuff. I've actually had a bumper of theirs. And whatnot. So, but if for any reason, they have a longer back order, go on, Cody, or you're not happy with, pricing or delivery options, Cody, go. Then this is going to be an option for you. And then the other thing is this is an OEM, which essentially is a DOT frame because Jeep had to go through all the safety stuff. And I can't say to whether they are or they aren't. But I guess the thing is, if you can get a frame in this kind of shape, then, you know, why not? And if you can't, then yeah, there's an option for you there. I actually appreciate the fact that they make them, because like, unlike tubs, there's really nobody that makes tubs. And we have a good amount of tubs for now, but eventually those will fade and thin just as much. So, and because people can still restore these things, we're able to sell everything else we have. So we have 7 acres of rust-free Jeep parts here. So anyway, I'm not really talking about much on the frame other than showing you, and I want to show you for a few things. One is, I want you to see it as if you're standing right next to me, okay? So that there's no surprises. Not only are there no surprises, but I'm the one that's going to be delivering this frame more than likely if you end up on this load. If you don't end up on this load, then I'll have a freight company bring it out to you. But nonetheless, you know, we want you to be happy with what you're getting. So frames are super common to rust out in the back area here. You see a lot of rust that begins here, and I'll flip this guy upside down for you in a minute. It's just as clean. We scope our frames, we measure our frames. We do a lot more than just the run-of-the-mill yard out there. We do the same with our axles. We pop things, drain fluids, check bearings. So we got a good reputation and plan to keep it that way. But the point of it is that I'm not illustrating, you know, like look at this, because I'm not having to on this frame. If there was some damage on it, for example, if these guys were wallowed out, sometimes they rust here, these have obviously are not, then there would be an issue there, right? But this frame is literally that clean. The top of the coil buckets, look how clean they are. Normally, even on a really clean frame, like, and I'm not kidding, I don't necessarily discount at all if they have surface up here. Now, surface is different than scaling. These ones are perfect, but if it did have that, I would even say it's not a cause for concern, even up through here. But, you know, obviously chunks of metal coming off, that's a bad thing. So that's what I'm basically trying to say is, I'm not just pointing out necessarily all the good, even though you can kind of see that for what it is, but I'm also not, you know, wasting your time and going through the scratches, because you're probably going to paint it anyway. And when I say scratches, I'm talking about paint that's worn off. You get a little bit of the oxidation, the browning of it, but if you feel it, it's nice and smooth. And when it shows up, you'll be able to do the same thing. So, okay. So, let me flip it up for a moment here and see if I can get it to stand. Sometimes they'll stand on their own. And then I will talk about, for those of you patiently waiting, or if we can put a fast forward button on it. And maybe, oh, look at that. I think we're going to look out as long as the wind doesn't blow too hard. So it was washed yesterday, so a little bit of water's coming out of it, okay? But a couple things, same thing, okay? Nothing through here, right? These are the common areas. Bottom of the coil spring buckets where the plastic is. It's hard to see with that, but I'll try to get a better light for you. All right, and nice, and there's not a little dirt, but nothing, not even surface, no oxidation, no nothing. Those are perfect. This area loves the rust. Again, even on a nice clean frame, you'll see surface on this, and this is perfect there. Back of your nice, clean, solid straight, obviously there. Same thing down here. Always gonna have a little bit of oxidized metal through here, but again, no surface, no scaling, no loss of metal. That's just purely the skid plates, belly pans, cross members, whatever you want to call them. Just rub metal on metal and you're going to get the paint off, and then again you just get oxidized metal there. Introduce it to salt, with road salt does it. You know, you'll get build up there, but a little dirt that didn't get washed off when I did it. But okay, and then up through the front. All right, so you get the picture. It's a fantastic, almost new looking frame. As close to new as you're gonna find out there, I guarantee it, okay? All right, so now let's go into real quick the difference. I don't have a 97 to 02 frame sitting here, so I can't show you that, but that's not to worry, because I made a video of that a few years ago. And it was kind of the same video, except for I didn't really go into what it is exactly, and you've probably seen a couple parts in the background, and we're gonna go over those here in a second. But once again, let's talk about real quick the frame itself. How does it differentiate or different from a 9702? This is an 03 to 06 frame. And by looking at it, if you were to walk in a yard and see two next to each other, I guarantee if they're in the same condition, I guarantee with 100% certainty, you will not be able to tell them apart. because they're not, there's subtle changes on them, but they're overall exactly the same frame. All of the tub mounts, this is a common thought, question, and concern, which is a valid concern. All of these here to your tub, identical, okay? There's 11 in total if you consider the front, but there's 10. So you got 3, there's 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay? You get 2 in the rear, 2 above your tank, and then 3 on each side, and then you get 1 more, makes 11 right there. Those are all identical, so there's not gonna be any kind of goofy alignment, not gonna have to mess with things, measure things, nothing like that, okay? It is literally a bolt-on frame as far as the tub is concerned. And as far as your axles are concerned, that's also a bolt-on. So your suspension components, your upper and your lower control arms. If you ever wondered what your Jeep looks like when it's stripped down to a frame, this is what it would look like. And tubs, I have videos of those, so you can check those out if you're wondering what that looks like there. Okay, so where your coil spring angle's at, where your control arms are, the length of them, every single thing about that is exactly the same. Your fuel tank skid plate, that is also the same. They change them slightly. They're a little bit thicker, but you can use a 97 to 06 fuel tank skid plate without any issue. The tanks themselves are different, but that doesn't matter because they'll fit inside the skid and they'll fit inside the hole here, but it's all the same there. So, but they did change in 03. They had an 03, 04 tank, and then they also had an 05, 06 tank. And those tanks are hard to get, so stick with your 97, 02 if that's what you have. Unfortunately, you can't adapt one to the other. They're very specific as far as getting it to run right in emissions and engine lights and whatnot. So, okay. Shock towers, which are your rear, they're more of just a plate they mount to and then go down to your axle. Exactly the same spot. Your rear bumper, okay, all your holes for your strapping on your skid, your rear gas tank skid, and then back through here. This is all identical. Nothing whatsoever has changed there. And coil, front buckets, okay, your towers, exactly the same height, same shocks, same everything like that. Track bar mounts, exactly the same, didn't change that at all. Motor mounts for a 6-cylinder, and keep this in mind, some of the rules I've told you about apply from 4 to 6 for most of what I'm talking about so far, but not when you get to your motor mounts. They are definitely different when it comes to a 4-cylinder. 2.5 or 2.4 will not work on a 6, and a 6 will not work on a 4. But as far as the 6 cylinders are concerned, they are the same. So you can bolt your factory 6-cylinder, regardless if it's distributor or coil, and that they did in 2000. So that was actually a mid-year for the early frames anyway. But again, they didn't change the type of mount, the spacing of it. It'll bolt right in there, so no problems there. So now you're probably scratching your head going, well, if all that's the same, what is different? Well, here in a few days, I'm going to leave for the East Coast, and I always do these runs, and I do a little bit of a promo in them, especially when I don't have a frame to offer someone like the 9702 right now. And that promo is going to be the price that you're going to get. Obviously, this is plus delivery. Our delivery fees, when I take them out, is $500. When deliveries, you go through a freight company, you're going to spend about $1,000. So it's a significant change, our savings on the delivery fee. As far as that goes later, and I'm only speaking to this because I do have a trip this particular week. Originally it was November 1st. I'm going to push it back to Friday, and that way my wife's sister can get here and stay with her while I'm gone, because I don't want any issues while I'm gone with that, or not somebody she can lean on. So, okay. So going back to what is different here. So I went off on that tangent for a reason. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So when I give you the price on this one, at least for this purpose and this trip, and you can assume if you're in this window, which is around November 1st, 2023, if you call me in a year after that or find an old video, which happens all the time, I'll work you out the best deal I can. I can't guarantee it'll be this deal. This deal will include the pieces that you do need to make this frame swap. And again, nothing has to be cut. Nothing has to be welded, grinded, anything like that. These are bolt-on, and these will come with the price that I give you, okay? So there are some subtle changes after that are more aesthetic changes, and I'll go over those with you as well, because it's important that you know everything. And there are a couple things that aren't here, but they're not needed to be here, because really they don't attach to the frame themselves. They attach to the peripheral stuff here, okay? So for example, you have to use a intermediate shaft out of a 2002, I believe. Anyway, it'll be included, so you don't have to worry about that, but it's like 02 to 06, I believe, has to go with this frame. Again, that was kind of a weird half year. Wasn't even specific to the 03 to 06, more of an 02. I think it's an 02, 06, or 01, but I'll verify that for you. But anyway, we've been doing these, we call them like a conversion almost, because it is. You do have to use some pieces, and anything more than one piece, the piece you're looking for, makes it a conversion in our eyes. So, but with that said, there's a couple things here. So first and foremost, I'll quit wishy-washing around it. So your belly pan is different. That's your 9702 belly pan, and if you haven't pulled it, that's what it should look like. And if you happen to need a 9702 belly pan, look how clean that thing is. There's no rust on it. The holes are good, not all wallowed out. And I would almost bet money that if you're replacing the frame, you're gonna need one of those anyway. So the fact that we include it in, if you're doing this conversion for this trip, that's gonna be a savings for you and not have to worry about it. A lot of times later, they go, oh, I'll see if I can use mine. And then they get in there, and sure enough, I can't tell you how many times it happens. They actually changed the design. See that? See how it's almost a concaved hole there? And it's easier for rust and dirt and stuff to get in there and just kind of wallow those out and blow them out. And then your pan literally just falls out with the weight of your tranny sit on it. They changed that. They got rid of that, and they went to more of a flat. See, it's flat both sides there. Sorry, I got a call coming in right now I'm looking at. So anyway, I'll get it in a minute. So they've gone away from that, and I think they just figured for design purposes that tends to hold up better. Okay, so that's the belly pan you're gonna get right there, and it's gonna be included with it. So it's a nice, beautiful, rust-free belly pan. This one's obviously facing up, this one's facing down. I just did that for illustration purposes. The mounts, as far as mounting a transmission in, are the same. If you're doing an automatic, you use, there's a certain wedge plate these are both from manuals. There's no automatic plates here, but there's a little plate that bolts on. You may already have it. And if you don't have it, we will sell you that as well. Everything's kind of a la carte as far as most of these parts are concerned normally. So you can buy this separately, and you can buy this separately. And if you happen to buy an 03 to 06 frame and you do not need a frame, but you need the conversion kit, we sell those. They're $750, and that's about a standard price all the time. So for the guys who are buying a frame from us, you're saving a good chunk of that $750. It's not quite free, but it's definitely not as much as it normally is either. So, and I do, in my opinion, that you are getting a better package, because like I said, you'll probably use that anyway. The other thing to consider, and it's not shown here because you don't need it for this conversion, is that gas tank skid plate. That's another area that rusts out. So, you know, if you want something that's super easy just to do and you don't want to mess with what you're going to need later, I would advise always buying one of these, and this one again will include with this one, and always buying the gas tank skid if we have them available, of course. Same with these. And then the last part of this frame swap that makes this bolt on, and there is a workaround on this, but it requires more than we would like to consider for an easy bolt-on conversion, so I'm not even going to go into that, is a gearbox swap. So, and from this is what they consider an old Borg-Warner box, and that has been around for ages. Even back in CJs, YJs, they changed the bolt pattern slightly, but essentially the same box, same ratio, same everything. In 03, this is about the time and era that Mercedes got involved with Jeep, and even now, even though they're not involved anymore, they're still using this style gearbox. Even on the newest ones, they're slightly different form, but they're the same component-wise. And it just gets a little, if you notice, it's shorter, it's a little fatter, a little thicker. These are actually called a heavy-duty box versus this kind of skinny, elongated box. But you can't really knock on an old box that's been around forever. But in the same regard, this one has also now been around since 03 and still being used. So that box is included as well. And if you're asking, well, can I get that box on it? Yes, you can. Again, I'm not going to go into how you do it, but there is some modifications and some more changes required to do that, to get an older box on a newer one. Some people like the older box. They're a little bit more readily available. They're a lot cheaper. But you know, if you get one, you know, you end up buying one used anyway, because none of these are both hard boxes to find. You can find them used and rebuilt, but then the level of rebuilt ones are just a matter of who's doing the work. You know, some of them are really good and some of them aren't so good. So, okay, both of those are in good shape. So again, you're not going to get these two things here. You're going to get this guy, intermediate shaft, the mount for the intermediate shaft, which is not on this frame, and that will be it. So, all right, that's a lot of information. The lump sum of this whole thing is that if you buy from us, you don't have to worry about it. If you buy from somebody else, that's okay too. We'll support you no matter what, and we'll sell you what you need. And it happens all the time. People call and they go, this guy said it would work and I'm having issues. Well, immediately when they tell me what they did, and a lot of times they're sold the frame as the year they need, and they're not even told that it's no 306. They don't even know where to go for information. So we're super busy, and I can't always sit on the phone, but I do try to spend a good amount of time with people as far as questions go. If you're just trying to get answers, I can definitely be that source occasionally. Sometimes I'll tell you, I'll be a little short and say, I gotta go, I got calls coming in. We do a couple hundred phone calls a day, and that's with my wife not going to the ER in the same day. So I'm sure they still handled a few calls while I was gone today, but okay. And then lastly, I'm just gonna go over real quick the aesthetic stuff that's not pertaining to anything as far as most people are concerned, but something you should be aware of. The steps, if you are running factory steps, they change these. This actually is the nicer one to have because it's got the nut certs. This is how they came from factory and the hooks. The early ones were 4 holes, and they were really apt to rusting because they pinched the frame and created a sand trap and salt trap. So it's actually better that they went to this. If you happen to have an early set and you're doing a frame swap, this is another one of those things that I almost bet money they're probably rusty and not going to be worth a darn anyway. But if they are nice and clean, or you're putting them back on because you took them off when it was new, you can use them. You can self-tap and drill and what. But normally what I would say if you have a clean set is just they're good. They're still good for trade credit, especially through us, and we can trade you out if they're in good shape. Remember, we sell rust-free parts here, so if you're coming from the East Coast, it's usually a little hard for me to believe that your parts are rust-free. And as many times as people say, "Oh, it looks great," I get there and I'm like, "Nah, it's pretty rusty." So, but nonetheless, if you need a set of steps, you don't have them, or yours are rusty and you don't, I'll get you the correct ones for this style here, okay? And they look, just so you know, they look identical. You cannot tell them apart once you get the step itself bolted on. They're exactly the same plastic little step with the little arms. It's just the way that they attach to the frame, okay? I think that's it. Pretty sure. I don't have any idea. I think these go for an aftermarket skid, or not an aftermarket, maybe a Rubicon. I don't know. They're all on all the 03 to 06s, but I'm guessing there was some sort of skid plate mounted here that provided some maybe oil or some sort of engine, skid plate or something that attached, and I know they did make them, so that's likely what that is. But we don't get them in very often. I just know they always have those, so I wouldn't sweat on those that stuff. So okay. I got to leave this up for photos actually, so I'm going to wrap this video up. But I should have listed our phone number right in the beginning. You'll be able to find that in the ad. But it is 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. And boy, I think we're ready to rock. I'm about to get another one of my locals that are Chatty Cathy. So we'll see. What's up, man? So partsbreakers.com, and just give me a ring. Again, if it doesn't work for customer schedule, I'll be leaving the first. If it works and everybody's okay with me leaving a couple days extra, I will be leaving out of here Friday, and then I'm heading all the way to Buffalo, New York. So I'll be hitting all the states in between. I also have Tennessee in that route, Kansas, and those states, the southern, northern. So cool. Thank you.